The dark is not a reasonable thing. It's an irrational thing. It's purely unknown. You don't stop to think, oh, well, I have more chance in the dark than I do in the light with someone who wants to harm me. You know what I mean? Because if this guy's stronger than you or better equipped than you, if you're in the light, you're a gun. So you should always go for the dark if you're the person who wants to save yourself. You ever think of that? Just think about that. The dark is your friend. I was once being chased by mobs of killers who wanted to get me out on Cyprus in some crazy place where they were cutting people's throats like they do in Iraq. And I actually had it all planned out how I was going to go out in the fields and sleep out in the wheat to get away from these people. Because I knew they'd never find me out in the fields. If I stayed around in the town or something, they'd easily get me. And those are important considerations. The dark is your friend. Anyway, most people see crazy things in the dark, so I don't know. Works both ways. So this guy says, so a dark shadow came across the road. It looked like a huge animal. My horse reared, throwing me off the saddle. I was pretty scared too, but it turned out the shadow was a woman who was walking in town. You mean you don't believe in diableros? Oh, what's a diablero? Tell me what a diablero is. I don't know. Look, Manuel was riding with me that night, said the Cody could have been a diablero. Maybe you could tell me what diablero is. Diablero, they say, is a brujo who changes into any form he wishes to adopt. So a diablero is a bad brujo. But everyone knows that's pure baloney. The old men here are full of stories about diableros. You won't find out among us younger people. So even in the Robert Redford movie, you were starting to get, I wouldn't say diableros, but brujo, diablero type, you know, old men seeing odd things, right? So there was even a touch, so there was a connection actually, it's a tenuous connection between these two presentations of Southwest culture. Then he speaks to a woman about what she thinks it is. And says, I think it was a coyote. They appear to be coyotes, but not really. Was it running or was it eating? It was just standing still most of the time. Maybe it was eating something. Are you sure it was not carrying something in its mouth? Maybe. I don't know why. If it was carrying something in its mouth, it was not a coyote. What do you mean? It was a man or a woman. Well, what do you call such people, Donald? She didn't answer. I questioned her for a while. Finally, she said she knew. I asked her if such people were diableros, and she answered, diablero was one of the names given them. Do you know any diableros? And then she tells them a story about one that's new. This is probably the best part of this book, by the way, right at the beginning. That's why I'm reading it to you. Because, I mean, I could tell you this story, but what's the point? I mean, he's actually written it, so. God, I knew a woman. She was killed. It was when I was a little girl. They say the woman used to turn into a female dog. And one night a dog went into the house of a white man to steal cheese. The Anglo, I guess we'd say today. The Anglo killed the dog with a shotgun. And in that moment, the dog died in the house of the Anglo. The woman died in her own hut. Our kin got together and went to the Anglo guy and demanded payment. And he paid good money because he had killed her. How could they demand payment? It was only a dog he had killed. They said the Anglo knew it was not a dog because other people were with him and they all saw the dog sit on its legs like a man and reach for the cheese which was on the tray from the roof, and the men were waiting for the thief because the white man's cheese was being stolen every night, so the man killed the thief knowing it was not a dog. That's pretty torturous reasoning, huh? But it reads well, you see. I can read it really good to you, and it reads well. Are there any diableros nowadays? See, these things are always in the past. I think I said at one point the other day, people accept in the past what they wouldn't accept in the present. Everything's always happened in the past. Nothing ever happens in the present. So we credit these stories in the past. We're very civilized people, we think, but we're not really, are we? Because even us, who are supposed to be very sophisticated, you know, we drive cars, we have video machines, we have cell phones and things, we fly in jet planes, but our view of the past is full of like crazy things. We accept all kinds of weird stories about the past. At least a lot of us do. Without thinking, someone is not being straight with us. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true all over though, because my parents come from a regional part of Mexico, and a lot of people still believe a lot of these things.
Yeah, I think they do. Oh, I don't. Well, I'm not saying. I'm talking about you and me.
Okay.
I wasn't. Oh, I know not in Mexico. I think that's why this is a very good picture here in a way. So that's why I'm using the book. I agree. So you say that a lot of people, yeah, they do believe in these things, even in the present.
Yeah, even in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had experiences where it's not like a coyote howling and they say it's the Llorona. I don't know if you know.
Is the what?
Llorona.
What's that?
It's a lady who killed her children in the river, and now she hunts with children at night, so it's not very safe for children to be out at night. I guess it's a kind of...
It's a way of keeping the children home at night and frightening the witches. Well, I'm sure it works.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, people do believe the story. But you see, this is still in the past. The lady did it in the past. It hasn't happened yesterday or, you know, again, these stories have happened in the past, and that's where they may happen in the future, so you got to watch out. But that's a good story. Any other stories you got to tell me? What part of Mexico is it?
Guanajuato?
Guanajuato.
Yeah.
Yeah, north of Mexico City.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty civilized area there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, comparatively speaking to some more backwater places. Like Sonora would be a little more out of the way than Guanajuato, which is a big tourist center. Yeah, well, there you go. We're getting some confirmation that this is not all hocus pocus here. In fact, people, you got some grandparents and people in your families that have these kind of stories and believe this stuff? Any of you? Yeah. Your grandmother. It seems like it's a feminine thing to some extent, more than a masculine thing. What about you?
My grandma.
Your grandmother too. What kind of stuff have you heard? Anything interesting?
She sometimes talks that she believes in like green men, little green men.
Oh, the green men. That's more like the Cocabelli deal. Yeah. What do these green men do?
They take kids away.
Oh, they take kids away. Okay. Similar to her. Hers was a woman that does it. This is a men. It's all your nightmarish fears. You know how people like to interpret dreams? And Freud made a whole so-called science out of it called Freudian psychology. I kind of call it pseudoscience because I don't really think it's science. The guy was taking too much cocaine. But for a while, Freud was like an icon. People just believed everything this guy said. He started psychoanalysis, putting people on the couch and everything, interpreting their dreams. I know I'm not a genius, but I got to go back to my wife.